Hi, welcome to Triangle Spotlight. I'm Suzanne Lynn, and my guest today, man, this is going to be very relevant. We're all stuck at home. We're recording this in March of 2020 right now, and Pam Gockley has some really important information to share. She is with the Camel Project. Pam, welcome. I can't wait for you to jump in and share with us what you're doing.
Thank you so much for not only having this, but inviting me on. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. What is the Camel Project? What's the premise of it?
So the Camel Project was started about 3 years ago. It is a nonprofit 501c3. We're in Pennsylvania, actually. And it was started because of bullying. And it was started because of the school shootings. I could no longer just give my thoughts and prayers. I actually had to do something. So after 25 years in marketing and after becoming a CBT practitioner, we started creating programs for children who are dealing with the learned aggressive behavior of bullying. And we view bullying as a behavior. And prior to this, in my marketing hat, we tried to help our clients understand that if they want to make more money, they have to look at themselves first. And this was the program we created was called Reputation Intelligence. And I wrote 2 books on reputation management. And I'm not talking about postings on social media, just for clarity. This is about how your personal conduct, your words, your behaviors, and how they impact others. And having that deeper understanding of self-awareness, self-regulation, self-management. And we learn those things by asking and engaging others what their thoughts and how our thoughts and behaviors affect them, versus some other programs who just internalize things. I feel if you're looking at yourself, you're this close, you can't see. So our concept is you can't live in your heart and you can't live in your head. So we want to create that balance by living in your belly. So we call it the belly program. So it's the balance between these two. Now, not, that's just just a way to think of it. But I think belly is a fun word, so I like to say it anyways.
Well, in a way, it kind of reminds me, it's a gut feeling. It's what we know is right. And what's interesting also is that you're not talking about behavioral changes. You're talking about real deep inner changes that are others focused and not self-focused. And that is mind-blowing.
Absolutely. And we have to have a process. So we create a process. Our actual training is trademarked. So we've been able to get the trademark on that. So I'm sitting, looking over the Parkland shooting, and being very emotional. And I'm like, I said to my husband, we got to do something. So we created the program 20 years ago. I said, why can't we do this for children? Why can't we take this program, add fun games, so we don't teach, we like to show people to get them personally involved so they're understanding it. They're not just talking about it. Talking, I'm a dyslexic. Don't talk to me, come along, show me what you want me to do.
Okay.
And that is where the whole program came from, is from the way I communicate is different than other folks, but everybody can learn by, the first impression, your body language, your words, your behavior, and being aware of that impact that you have when you enter the room. So we kind of took the programs and we kind of transformed them into more fun. But we also train the trainers. So we train teachers, not only to recognize the signs and symptoms of a bullied kid going back to an aggressive learned behavior. We picked that one, but we go cross behaviors. But under the assumption that if you want to make children aware of aggressive behaviors, you have to replace them with something else. Just stop doing that. It's not going to work. That's not how children learn. You have to give them another behavior.
Give me an example.
So if you want somebody to be aware and stop bullying an autistic kid, if you teach them what autism is and you make them the caregiver of that child, you will change your behavior. So we kind of do self-awareness, we do recognition, and then we do practice, and then we do the change. So if you personally engage somebody in something, they're going to learn much more than watching a video or reading a book. So if you get them emotionally, socially involved, so we do social emotional learning. For example, if you want them to relate to a child who doesn't have use of a hand or an arm, we put socks on their hands and give them Starburst candies and say, if you can open it, you can have it. And they will then understand what that feels like. We put goggles on them and they're scratched. So we make them read something. So it shows them how it feels to be either blind or have vision issues. Those are the kinds of situations we set up through a program, but we also train teachers to be able to identify, and parents how to identify that maybe the effect. So we think the bullying is a very much a core contributor to a lot of cause and effect. So we think bullying, a kid who is bullied is more apt to be depressed, isolated, angry, abused, because bullies pick out the perceived weaker person. So if you enter a room and your eyesight is on the floor, you're going to be perceived as a weaker person. You're going to become the target of that bully. And this goes into adults too, but don't tell adults because they.
I was just going there. When we think about bullies, the first thing that comes to mind are students and kids. But man, have we had bully, I hate to call them leaders. I'll say bosses because they're not leaders as bullies. But
Right.
Is it the same kind of concept? Is it insecurity? Is it mental illness when it comes to adulthood? I mean, haven't you moved through the maturity phase by the time you're put in a position of management?
No, because nobody's challenging them like we do. So in our workplace programs, when we do the surveying, we always do a climate assessment because we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we've been.
Mm-hmm.
So we always start with that climate assessment and or survey or whatever you want to call it to find out. It's always anonymous, and that's when you get the real issue. We can't fix it if we don't know what's wrong. It all probably pretty much 75% of the time is the leadership.
Mm-hmm.
The leadership is in that position because they never were challenged to that negative behavior. They never met me, number one.
Mm-hmm.
But they have, it's been working for them. They may be 40 or 50 years old and they're in a habit now. And it worked for them. They've never been challenged. They may have been fired, but they were always hired somebody else based on their experience. But their reputation, we all know who these people are.
Sure.
Just look at their reputation. We know who they are. If they own the company, if you're an employee, you got two choices: you either put up with it or you leave. Pretty much, you can't change much about that. Unfortunately, people who are so bullied will be kind of groomed to that. They're kind of numb to that. So when they go outside or back to their home and they're being abused, they're just kind of used to it and numb to it. It's a very, very vicious cycle that I cannot allow in good faith to continue without attempting to make those changes.
Pam, I have so much to say. I mean, you are so onto something that's so vitally important because bullying doesn't stop when you leave the office at 5 o'clock or when you walk out of school at 3:30. It goes home and then it manifests itself in different ways. You're either making your family miserable or, just not being a good version of who you were meant to be.
And it goes on layers. So when you have a kid who's being bullied at school and then they move into college and then they're prime targets and people go, oh, they're victims. No, they're not victims. There's things they need to do and put into place with the proper support. And that's what the Count Project wants to do. So we have programs for children. We have programs for college, for workplace. And, sadly, we have senior citizens programs as well. We were just hired by one. And then, of course, senior citizens living centers were all, obviously shut down.
Right.
But, they call me and they say, we have a mean girl syndrome. And I'm like, it doesn't end at maturity, because they don't know how to mature, because they don't know any other way. So I went and I spoke to him and I said, we actually do the assessment and then we do work with everybody that works here. And I said, I especially want to work with your dishwashers. And they're like, what do you mean? They're like, what? Yeah, that's what they said. What? I said, your dishwashers know everything that is happening here. They have a total across the board, no commitment to what's happening here. And if you want to know what's happening, well, what about our servers? I said, they're just trying to get their serving done. Right. Your dishwashers has the time to listen to what they're doing and what's happening. And that's where we're going to fix it. She goes, and I said, then we work with staff, we work with management, then we work with staff, and then we work with your residents. And they're like, well, we thought you were just going to come in and say, stop doing that. I'm like, well, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to have that fundamental change inside to change a behavior. And it's a process.
And why it's so important also for businesses is because people are learning how to be managed by this horrible leader. And then that's the kind of leaders they turn into because they think that that's the learned way. And it's not. They need people to come in and do heart changes. One of the things you talk about a lot is self-care, self-awareness, being present, making time. That sounds like very healthy steps, whether you're a bully or not, to do.
Right. And we found that the bully and the bullier, the target, are the same people at different levels. So a bully, target of a bully will become a bully, usually violently at some point, because they will reach the end and they will snap.
Oh, wow. So the target of a bully will then become a bully.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it'll be violent.
We see that.
So unfortunately, it's all about suicide and ending the pain because they have no other way and no other thought. And when you're that, when there's so many layers, that's logical. You just want the pain to stop. So the mass shootings are suicides. Unfortunately, they take people with them. So we have launched onto this probably 5 years ago. This started like 10 years in my head, but technically we're only 3 years old. So we have a lot of programs in place. We have a lot of pilot programs that I'm a data girl. I don't want to think or feel it works. I want to know it works. So I'm pretty much gathering the data. With this virus now, with our concern is what is the effect of social distancing going to be reintroduced to society?
I want to say that maybe we're about halfway. I don't know. It's April actually of 2020, but the effects are going to last forever. Where are you at right now with the data that you've put together as far as those effects?
Well, right now we're just really gathering the data and the research. We think we can either come out of this really badly or we can come out of it stronger. And when this first hit, I actually went, oh, well, the Camel project's done. All this bullying is going to go away. And I had an advisor. I have lots of advisors because I'm a dyslexic. It needs to be hit.
It sounds like because you're smart and you know that you need to surround yourself with smart people. So.
And I have a lot of smart people, and they said, "What are you talking about? This is the time of make or break in this position right now in this time frame that we have to start gathering this data so that we know where we are and where we're going to go and how we're going to come out." So we want to do this research. So we have programs in place to reintroduce children to the school society with skills and these skills to reintroduce people to the workplace. I'm concerned that people are, because I always say you have to practice math or you kind of forget how to do it. You have to practice these social and emotional learning skills, these relationship skills. Unfortunately, somebody on our board pointed out, if the children were abused or the spouse was abused in the home, they are now locked in with these people. So our concern, is the effect of the social distancing in every sense of that word and how that's going to affect how we come out of this.
How can people get a hold of you, and what type of resources do you have that they can purchase?
We actually have a couple books, and we'll always take donations, but we have the camelproject.org. Not All Camels Are in the Desert. It's the book where I share my story.
Uh-huh.
You see the kind of the camel thing.
I love it. Yeah.
I'll give you a secret. The camel idea, if you read the book, was a nickname growing up, and I was not a term of endearment. So I went through ninth grade as undiagnosed dyslexic. I ballooned to 300 pounds. Nobody said, what's happening with this kid? They put me in special education. I became angry and isolated and committed a felony in the school in ninth grade. So I not only know this process because it was me, and I see it duplicated over and over, and I'm trying to stop this really bad ecosystem I think we've gotten into. So the book outlines my my story. It's for teenagers, so I suggest the parents buy it and read it. If it's appropriate, give it to their teenager or somebody they know. It's just to show them that bullying, it was not only them, they're not alone, and it's not their fault. Because when it becomes their fault, that's when we get the violence. So I share my story in that. And like I said, we can always take donations because we're really working on development of these new programs for when we come out of this.
I think it says a lot about you that at the very rock bottom, you use that as an opportunity to be able to help others. It's been a long journey from, ninth grade to where you're at now, but God used every step of the way, and you were insightful enough to repurpose those bad times to be able to pay it forward to others. That, like I said, that just says a lot about you.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So how can people get a hold of you?
So you can go through the website. We have a Facebook page as well. We are on LinkedIn and Twitter. So pretty much the 3 social medias as well as the website. And we do the belly programs every Thursday. If you want to jump on, just let me know, and I can send you that link to become engaged. And we usually do it like an hour and a half. We have a couple rules. There's no judgment. We don't judge people. We don't give advice to people because many times they're not ready for it, and you can cause more damage. And we're there to share or not share whatever you're comfortable with. So we don't think you're broken. We just don't think you have a deep enough understanding of your behaviors and your limiting beliefs.
Okay, your website one more time.
The Camel Project, and yes, it is one hump. Okay, that's probably copyright. Sorry.
Yeah.
Blackboard is our website.
That's great. And is there anything you feel is very important that gets into this interview before we head on out?
Our philosophy is it starts with you, but it's not about you. And as soon as it becomes not about you, that's when you're going to thrive. That's when you're going to collect more business. That's when you're going to become more self-satisfied. And that's where you're going to become your authentic self for your legacy.
Pam, thank you so much. Pam from the Camel Project. Appreciate it so much. And I have a feeling that we're going to be talking again. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the show. We hope that you enjoyed it. Having digital marketing for your product or organization is so crucial these days. People are ditching traditional advertising like print and broadcast commercials and turning to relationship marketing platforms like YouTube and podcasts that people can consume on demand on their time. Let's talk about how we can build your digital library with segments just like this.